what team at this point has been the biggest surprise for you? There are two teams that are major surprise right now in the West. And I think it comes, obviously, between the Jazz and the Blazers. What team are you more surprised by when it comes to their start?
Oh, probably the Jazz, because at least like the Portland Trailblazers got Dame, so you figure they'll win some games, or whatever the case would be. But the fact that the Jazz are the number one seed is like crazy. So I definitely say it's the Jazz. But like we both know, that's them winning does not. It's like Richard Jefferson said this the other day on the jump. I think he was like, okay, I understand that they're 9-3, they're first in the West, but is that really what they want to do? Like, how is that going to benefit them if they're basically just going to be a first-round exit team, if we're being honest?
Yeah.
And then, like, would you rather make the first round of the playoffs, right, and get your ass beat or swept or something, and then just be like, damn, we don't have nothing to bid off of like that because we weren't bad enough to make to select a draft pick, or at least in a lottery pick in the top 5 or top 15 or whatever the case may be. So I don't think they want to be in that position. I think they need to kind of not make it obvious that they want to lose, but slow it down.
Yeah.
So
it's just a really strange situation. And I think we talked about this a little bit on the last episode. I personally, and I repeat this point all the time, I didn't think they needed to move on from Donovan Mitchell. Now, obviously, I think you brought this point up to me. Mitchell wanted to go anyway. Gobert wanted to go anyway. I get it. But this rebuild kind of happened very quickly. I didn't think the Jazz's window was closed just yet, because you have to look at their entire era with Mitchell and Gobert. They did it all under the same coach. And a lot of times when there are those teams who have been kind of on the edge, on the brink of being contenders, and they're not, and they don't get there just yet, a lot of it comes down to their coach. We saw them run it basically with the same roster, no real roster changes outside of Mike Conley. And under Quinn Snyder, they never ran it with a different coach. I'm saying that to say I was surprised to know that they ended up breaking apart the entire Gobert and Mitchell thing and going into this completely different direction where the team is just different. There's nobody on this roster that was there on any of those playoff teams outside of Mike Conley. So now you're in this weird situation where you have Larry Markkinen, THT, name some other guys, Malik Beasley, Colin Sexton, just a bunch of guys who just seem to be Jared Vanderbilt, a bunch of guys who seem to just, they're trying to find their way in the league right now. We talk about Sexton, right? Was exiled from Cleveland for no reason. I can never understand what the Colin Sexton hate was ever about. Larry Markkinen, we didn't know how we felt about him as a player, right?
Yeah. But shit, look at the Cavs now.
Yeah,
they got
true.
Donovan Mitchell, and they second in the second in the East. Yeah. So
even though
they didn't have a real reason to let go of Colin Sexton, even before they traded him, he really wasn't playing a lot, and they were thinking about trading him even before then, season before. So it's like, why? But they got Donovan Mitchell, so I can't say shit.
Can't get mad. But this Jazz team, bro, it's just like it's a accumulation of dudes who just, I feel like, are trying to find their spot in the NBA. You even think about THT. Malik Beasley's always been a guy who just been kind of there. Like we don't really know. Just
the energy player off the bench or something like that. He's not somebody you fear.
He's not a dude you're scared of. And I feel like he has potential to be a guy that you actually fear as a player, because if you look at his skill set, he's got starter level, and he is a starter, but he's got and you look at his game and you look at some seasons he's got 18 to 20 point per game seasons efficiently in him, but he just hasn't been able to do it just yet. But it's just a culmination of dudes who didn't belong on the team they were on previously. And so to see them play like this, expectedly, they're great on both ends, because a lot of times when you end up seeing these teams like this, they're always great when it comes to offensive rating. They're always great when it comes to defensive rating. Larry Markkinen looks like he's making this all-star run that nobody saw coming. And if they keep it going, he is going to be a fucking all-star. But we didn't see it coming at all. So I would definitely say, going back to the question, when comparing Utah and, Portland, I had no expectation for Portland, but Utah, I didn't see them being good at all. I remember saying as a joke summer, I remember saying, what if they're actually good? But I didn't think it was going to happen. They're actually good.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I remember that joke. He was like, what if the Jazz in the perfect world just make the playoffs and just shock the world? You said something like that. Then you start laughing. Yeah. And everybody else, me and Blake started laughing too, because obviously we didn't think that was going to happen just based on the roster. Like there's dudes that just, it's not, I'm not going to say they're used players or washed up or anything like that, but it's just, they have players on their team that people didn't want anymore for a certain reason. So you just think the team wasn't going to be good. But I don't know. They play defense and they shoot threes. So most of the time that's gonna be a result for winning.
Now who do they remind you of? Because remember last season it was the same. Now I'm not saying the same thing's going to happen, but last season it was the same with my Wizards. We had a bunch of dudes outside of Brad Beal who were just trying to find their way. Spencer Dinwiddie, Trez was kind of all over the place. Kyle Kuzma was trying to find his place after being in LA with LeBron and them and kind of being phased out. It's almost the same thing with Utah. So my initial question, or my second question for you here, Carl, is this. I know they're not going to remain at the top spot in the Western Conference, but do you think, and we know their ceiling is playoffs, do you think this team will remain a playoff team when it's all said and done? Or will they fall into the play-in territory, or will they just completely fall out of postseason talk in the first place?
Man, that's a tough question because the way they plan, they're like beating the hell out of teams, though. They just not winning. Yeah. Like they're actually blowing teams up that they've gotten to the wins that they got to, which is 9. So I think they're going to. I'm gonna say this. I think they're going to make the playoffs. Do I see them being the 1 seed? Maybe not, but they might still float around that top 4, top 5. I'm not gonna lie, because I saw them play the other day.
Yeah,
and they just look like one of those teams. They kind of play like even though the Warriors back in like 2008 or 2009, whenever it was, like the believe, like we believe
they've got that chip.
They got that shit. They got that chip on their shoulder. Yep. So that's kind of how they play. So when a team has that grit and they just got heart, it's a bunch of dudes on the team that just got heart.
Yeah,
and that heart can take you a long way.
It can.
I'm just saying. So I think they probably go stay in that top 4, top 5. They got a lot of heart.
I would love to see one thing. This is a total random thought, but I've got to see Colin Sexton in the playoffs for one. He's like Colin Sexton, is the perfect playoff player. So that's just a really random thought. I think they can stay with if I'm putting money on it, I think that they'll fall into play-in territory. Staying top 5, top 4 is reasonable, but personally, I think they're going to fall into play-in territory when it's all said and done. But I even look at that as, but it's even tough because I was going to say, do I look at it, would that be a success? Because I don't know, because if they fall out, they'll get a great pick. But they're just still, the thing I hate about teams like this, even though they're good, they're just in a really weird position where you look at it and you're like, where the hell are we right now? You know what I'm saying? I'm sure the owner kind of loves this in a way because obviously he's making money, he's selling tickets, and the NBA loves it because they're selling tickets and everything like that because they're a good basketball team right now. Yep. But in the back of the GM, the coaches, and the owner's head, they're like, damn, do we really want to be this good? Because we do want to potentially get Victor. Everybody wants Victor. Yep.
So it's like, bro, I think, me personally, I ain't gonna be winning 9 games.
Yeah.
This 12 games into the season, nigga. No, I'll be 3-9, not 9-3. Right. But that's them. But it's definitely in a tough spot, and it's a weird tough spot because it's a positive and negative thing. Like obviously, you don't want to lose games. Yeah. But then again, like you don't want to win them either.
Because you're looking at it like we're good, but is this what we want? And it's and is this team going to be a thing next season? Like, are these guys going to be here next season?
Yeah, no, because we all know basketball, at least to know if they get to the playoffs, they're not beating anybody. I just can't see it. Yeah. They're not beating anybody. They're most likely going to get first round. And so you made the playoffs, right? You didn't get anywhere. Basically, you got first round exited, and then now you don't really get a high draft pick. That's a lose-lose.
Yeah. Unless they have some magical way that they can build off of what, because now let's say they do stick with it. Let's say they do stick with the Larry Markkinen and Colin Sexton. And let's say they do stick with that and Jared Vanderbilt. Let's say they stick with that. There is a world where they can work some contracts around, move some guys around and build something else around this and try to like make this, I call it a middle of the pack rebuild where they're not starting off super young, but they're starting with guys who are around the age of 25 and they're building from there. It's a rare type of rebuild. They could make it work if they move certain guys around. So there is a world where they can build off of this. Because like I said, these guys, Sexton, Marketing, THT, some of these other dudes, Vanderbilt, these guys are around 25 or whatever. You could rebuild from this, and you could continue to move up from this. So maybe it's not as weird as we thought. Maybe they are trying to rebuild, but like I said, it's tough to rebuild if you don't have those high draft picks. But if there's a world where they can move guys around and make something happen to where you're getting other guys of value here and to just try to keep this thing consistently good, I guess.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But it's still a really, really weird position that they're in. So
no, yeah, it's definitely weird because it's just I've never seen somebody in a position like this.
Yeah,
I don't think.
Yeah.
Maybe in football, I've seen it sometimes with like the Cleveland Browns, maybe, and maybe the Jets, even though the Jets are good this year. I've seen it with teams like that in the past, and then something clicks in their mind and they start losing. In basketball, I don't know if I've ever seen this. Well, so it's going to be interesting.
OKC.
Yeah.
Look at teams now. They could not. Here's why I think Utah can flip it, because you look at OKC, they did get first rounded, and I think they had a smaller amount of outside of Chris Paul. Well, that's Chris Paul,
but they don't have Chris Paul.
Right.
They don't have anybody of value on their team that's Chris Paul, the Jazz.
You know, I'm saying back when they made that playoff run, I was going to say they still took a first round exit and flipped it into having a bunch of draft picks, but that's because they traded Chris Paul to the Suns to a lottery team. So Utah doesn't have that super valuable guy to where they can go move. They can make that first round exit, then move one guy out and get a whole bunch of fucking picks. They don't really have that dude. This Mike Conley's not that guy. So yeah.
The only they do have players that's kind of worth like or on the same parts. Dennis Schroeder, in terms of his value, they probably do. But other than that, damn, I forgot about Dennis Schroeder. He didn't even play for Lakers yet. That's crazy. Yeah. But other than that, we need him. Yeah. Other than that, they probably don't have the OKC probably like definitely overvalued the Jazz as a team.
Mm-hmm. They did. So it is tough to kind of see how they move. It can happen, but it'll be tough to see how they move out of this. But it'll be interesting. Yeah, I mean,